Imagine a teenager, not from Silicon Valley, not from Europe, not even from China's tech hubs, but from Rwanda, unveiling an open-source electric vehicle design so bold, so disruptive, that global automakers are scrambling to understand it. A young mind in Africa may have just shaken the foundations of the trillion-dollar auto industry. Globe showing Europe Africa high voltage. This isn't science fiction. This is the story of a teenager whose open-source EV project is rewriting the rules of innovation, proving that the future of sustainable mobility may come from the most unexpected places. At just insert age if known, e.g. 17 or 18, this Rwandan teenager has created a bio-EV prototype, an electric vehicle design that integrates locally sourced biomaterials, ultra-efficient energy storage, and open-source blueprints that anyone around the world can replicate. Unlike traditional EV projects that hide behind patents and billion-dollar labs, this invention thrives on openness, collaboration, and accessibility. The auto industry, dominated for decades by giants like Toyota, Volkswagen, Tesla, and BYD, suddenly finds itself confronted by a radically different philosophy. Instead of protecting innovation, this project shares it freely, allowing engineers, students, and innovators everywhere to improve, adapt, and build. Sustainability. The design uses bio-based materials that reduce carbon emissions in both manufacturing and operation. Affordability. By removing corporate secrecy and profit-driven barriers, this EV could be built for a fraction of today's market prices. Global accessibility. Because the project is open source, communities from Africa to Asia can customize it to local needs, whether for urban transport, rural mobility, or delivery systems. This isn't just an invention, it's a statement. It shows the world that innovation has no borders, no age limit, and no monopoly. Africa, often overlooked in global technology races, may just become the birthplace of the next leap in transportation. But here's the burning question. What happens when a grassroots invention threatens trillion-dollar corporations? Will automakers embrace it, try to suppress it, or attempt to buy it out? One thing is clear. This Rwandan teen has sparked more than just an invention. He's ignited a conversation about who truly owns the future of mobility. Globe showing Europe Africa automobile high voltage. When news of the Rwandan teen's project spread online, it quickly gained traction among engineers, researchers, and sustainability advocates. Open-source communities on platforms like GitHub began sharing modifications, schematics, and even 3D printable parts. What started as one prototype in Rwanda began to evolve into a global movement of collaboration. Industry insiders report a mix of curiosity and quiet concern. Some automakers see it as a novel experiment, while others fear it could set a precedent. If people realize that efficient EVs can be built without billion-dollar R&D budgets, the industry's profit-driven model could be challenged at its core. A senior engineer at a European car company reportedly admitted, "We spend billions protecting our patents. If something like this grows, our advantage disappears." Meanwhile, smaller startups in Asia and Latin America are already experimenting with adapting the design to local production. For Rwanda and Africa as a whole, this isn't just about cars. It's about rewriting the continent's role in global innovation. Instead of being seen only as consumers of foreign technology, Africa could now emerge as a source of disruptive inventions. And the symbolism is powerful. A teenager with limited resources proving that knowledge sharing can sometimes outpace corporate secrecy. But here's where the story gets even more fascinating. The teen isn't stopping at just one prototype. Rumors suggest that the next phase of the project involves integrating renewable microgrids, AI-driven energy optimization, and modular EV kits that communities could assemble almost like Lego. This could mean that in the near future, entire villages might build their own community EV fleets, powered by solar, assembled locally, and maintained without dependence on expensive imported parts. If this vision succeeds, it could trigger the biggest decentralization of automotive technology in history. No more waiting for foreign automakers to decide what markets deserve affordable EVs. Innovation will be in the hands of the people. Not everyone is celebrating. Behind closed doors, industry watchdogs and auto executives are reportedly discussing ways to control the narrative. Some corporations have begun reaching out to the teen with offers. Huge sums of money in exchange for exclusive rights to the design. Others, more discreetly, are lobbying to tighten international patent laws to make it harder for open-source vehicles to scale. Whispers in the tech community suggest that if the teen refuses these offers, he might face obstacles, legal, financial, even political. It wouldn't be the first time a revolutionary inventor found themselves under pressure when their work threatened billion-dollar industries. But here's the twist. The project is gaining powerful allies. Independent researchers, climate activists, and even some forward-thinking government agencies see the open-source EV as a weapon against climate change and corporate monopoly. Several universities are already proposing to integrate the teens project into their engineering programs, turning its prototype into a teaching tool for the next generation of innovators. On social media, the teen has become something of a folk hero, symbolizing not just African innovation, but the spirit of global collaboration. Hashtags supporting the project are trending, and grassroots fundraising campaigns are emerging to help scale production. And then comes a breakthrough moment. A small workshop in Kenya successfully builds a working model using the shared open-source plans. Days later, a team in India adapts the design into a three-wheeler for urban delivery. Suddenly, this is no longer just a Rwandan experiment. It's a global chain reaction. Automakers now face a dilemma. Do they fight this movement, risking public backlash? Or do they pivot and try to adopt the very principles they once dismissed? And the teenager at the center of it all faces a question just as daunting. The offers on the table are staggering. Contracts worth millions of dollars, promises of state-of-the-art labs, and the chance to scale the invention faster than ever. But each deal comes with a catch: exclusivity. Signing would mean his open-source dream. Free knowledge for all would vanish into the vaults of a corporation. Yet, he also knows that refusing could make him a target. Already, whispers are circulating of mysterious delays at suppliers who once supported him. The pressure is real. Instead of bowing to corporate pressure, the teen doubles down. He releases an updated version of his bio-EV design online, even more efficient, even easier to build. This move electrifies the open-source community. Within weeks, hundreds of makers, engineers, and students worldwide are building their own versions. What began as one teen's prototype is now a global decentralized network of EV builders. They start sharing real-time data, improvements, and hacks, turning the bio-EV into a living project, evolving faster than any corporate R&D lab could manage. In Brazil, a team integrates the design with bioethanol systems. In India, low-cost solar charging hubs are added. In Nigeria, engineers adapt it for rugged rural roads. On one side, a teenager and a global community of innovators. On the other, powerful automakers and their allies in politics and media. And the world is watching to see which side will shape the future of mobility. Just weeks after the updated bio-EV plans go viral, several countries suddenly announce new safety compliance rules for electric vehicles. On the surface, these look like consumer protection policies. But in reality, the requirements, costly crash tests, complex software certifications, and expensive battery labeling procedures are far beyond what small open-source workshops can afford. Critics call it a deliberate blockade, designed to slow down the movement before it grows too powerful. But the open-source community is clever. Instead of giving up, they adapt. Makers begin sharing low-cost DIY safety testing kits, using sensors, drones, and digital simulations that rival corporate labs at a fraction of the price. Videos of successful crash test simulations flood the internet, showing that grassroots innovation can in fact meet safety standards, sometimes even exceeding them. Universities rally to the cause, offering free lab access to community teams. Suddenly, what was meant to be a crushing regulation turns into a global collaboration challenge, with students, professors, and hobbyists uniting to prove the bio-EV's legitimacy. Automakers start to feel the pressure not just from the technology, but from public opinion. Protest movements emerge in major cities, with people demanding mobility for all and accusing automakers of protecting profits over progress. Hashtags trend daily, and the Rwandan teen becomes a symbol of resistance, a David standing against the Goliaths of industry. Then, something unexpected happens. A few smaller nations, keen to position themselves as hubs for green innovation, announce that they will officially recognize and certify open-source EVs built under the teens framework. Rwanda leads away, followed by Kenya, parts of Southeast Asia, and even a bold European city-state. This changes everything. Overnight, the BioEV project goes from being an underground movement to a recognized alternative transportation system. Investors who once ignored it now start funding community factories. Even local governments begin using open-source EVs for public transport fleets. The auto industry fractures into two camps. The old guard, clinging to patent secrecy and mass-market dominance. The new wave, embracing the open-source ecosystem, hoping to stay relevant in a rapidly shifting world. And at the heart of it all, the young Rwandan teen, still refusing to sell out, faces growing pressure. The spotlight is brighter than ever, and the stakes are global. As momentum grows, strange things begin to happen. Several community-led EV projects report that their supply chains are mysteriously disrupted. Battery shipments are delayed without explanation. Online forums supporting the BioEV are flooded with bots spreading doubt, claiming the cars are unsafe, unstable, or even a scam. But the global community sees through the smokescreen. Hackers and digital activists step in, exposing leaked documents that suggest a coalition of legacy automakers is funding misinformation campaigns. The revelations go viral, further damaging the credibility of the industry giants. In response, the Rwandan teen releases a video message that shakes the world. Standing in his modest workshop, surrounded by tools and wires, he says, "This project was never about me. It's about proving that knowledge belongs to everyone. Cars shouldn't be a privilege. They should be accessible, sustainable, and built by the people who need them most." The video trends globally, drawing millions of views within hours. To many, he's no longer just an inventor. He's a movement leader. Under rising public pressure, more governments join Rwanda and Kenya in recognizing open-source EVs. South American nations follow suit, seeing the BioEV as a solution for affordable rural transport. Even a few progressive European cities announce pilot projects to integrate open-source EV fleets into their public transportation systems. Not all automakers resist. Smaller startups, and even a few forward-thinking divisions within big companies, begin defecting to the new wave. They argue that embracing open source is the only way to survive in a rapidly changing landscape. For the first time, the old guard's wall of resistance begins to crack. And then comes a game changer. A coalition of makers from Africa, Asia, and South America develop a next-generation BioEV battery, using locally sourced biomaterials combined with modular energy cells. It charges faster, lasts longer, and is far cheaper than the lithium-ion packs dominating the market. This breakthrough threatens to upend the global battery industry itself, just as the car makers are still reeling from the open-source EV shock. At this point, the movement is unstoppable. Factories spring up in unexpected places. Community-run, crowd-funded, and cooperative. Imagine a neighborhood in Nairobi assembling their own fleet of delivery EVs, while a town in Brazil builds low-cost commuter cars tailored to their roads. But the stakes are higher than ever. The giants of the auto industry, cornered and humiliated, are preparing their biggest counterattack yet. Rumors circulate of lawsuits, secret lobbying efforts, and attempts to seize control of the BioEV through international trade agreements. The battle is no longer just about cars. It's about who controls the future of technology itself. When the auto industry giants launch their last offensive, lawsuits, trade pressures, and a flood of propaganda, the world is already watching closely. Investigative journalists, whistleblowers, and online activists expose every move in real time. Instead of killing the BioEV movement, the resistance only fuels it, making the public angrier and more determined. The once untouchable corporations find themselves cornered, not by governments, but by the people. In a historic moment, a coalition of smaller nations formally presents the open-source EV Accord at the United Nations. It's a bold charter that protects community-driven inventions, guarantees a right to open-source technology, and encourages sustainable transport free from corporate monopoly. Shockingly, several larger nations, under pressure from their citizens, sign on too. The tide has turned. The Rwandan teen, still barely out of high school, becomes a symbol of global change. Instead of cashing in on his fame, he establishes a nonprofit foundation dedicated to advancing open-source green technologies. His workshop in Rwanda grows into an international hub where engineers, students, and dreamers from every corner of the world collaborate on next-generation designs. Within a decade, the world looks different. Cities run on community-built EV fleets. Villages produce their own solar charging hubs. Automakers, forced to adapt, now release open-source models alongside their traditional cars. Transportation is no longer controlled by a handful of corporations. It's shaped by people for people. In the end, what started in a small workshop in Rwanda became a global revolution. A teenager proved that innovation doesn't belong only to billion-dollar companies or powerful nations. It belongs to anyone bold enough to imagine, to build, and to share. And perhaps, just perhaps, the greatest disruption of the 21st century didn't come from Silicon Valley, Europe, or China, but from the heart of Africa. Globe showing Europe-Africa, high-voltage automobile.